So hi everyone. So in today's video, I would like to take you through how to run ESMValTool on the NCI Getty. So this is going to be like a quick start guide. So I'm probably going to go too fast, but so feel free to we will go in more details and in a series of videos. So don't worry about that. Okay, so let's get started. So you will need a terminal. So I'm just going to quickly connect to Getty. And I'm going to go to a folder that I've prepared for today's video. So what I've also prepared is a PBS script to request some resources on Getty. So I'm just going to quickly show you what we're going to request. Normally you would submit your ESMValTool call directly in the PBS job. Today I'm just going to use this to request an interactive job. I'm just requesting some resources to PBS. So we are asking for 4 hours wall time on the copy QQ with 64 GB of memory, which is more than what we need for today's exercise. And I'm also always asking for a bit of job FS just to be comfortable. This is submitted using the IQ82 computing project, which is ACCESS-NRI model evaluation and diagnostics project. So make sure that you use yours, otherwise not going to work. And so the important line here is the storage line, which tells the system which file system is supposed to load. So at the bare minimum, you need to load XP65 on GData. Other projects you may want to have access to and mount is CT11, which is the ACCESS-NRI NCI data collection for replicas, used for model evaluation and diagnostics. And I'm also mounting the semi projects, so the replica OI10 and FS38, ERA5, etc. So you don't necessarily need to mount all of these. It really depends on which data you need to access on Getty. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to submit this to the queue system. And that might take a few minutes. So I'm just going to stop the video and be back as soon as it's done. All right, so now we have an interactive prompt. So the next step is to load the ESMValTool. So we need to tell it where to find it. So it's in the XP65 public module, and we load it by running module load ESMValTool. And as you can see here, it's also loading a requirement, which is singularity. The reason being that ESMValTool is containerized in a singularity container, which is built directly from the Docker image provided by the ESMValTool developers. This facilitates maintenance on our side, and it also makes sure that you are running with a stack of dependencies that has been tested by the ESMValTool development team. All right, so and that's it. Basically, you have access to ESMValTool. You can run the command and start interacting with the tool. So ESMValTool is a command line tool. Good idea just to have an idea of how to interact with it is to run the ESMValTool --help command, which will return some information about the tool. Here we go. So ESMValTool, a community tool for routine evaluation of Earth system models. But it tells you how to call ESMValTool by passing a group argument and the command argument. So a group argument can be any one of those keywords here. For the sake of today's video, we're just going to look at the config one and the recipes. And to run ESMValTool, to run a recipe from ESMValTool, you use the run command and you pass it the name of the recipe. But I'm going to show you this now. Right, so let's talk about configuration. So the ESMValTool module on NCI comes pre-configured to use the data collections available on GADI. Keeping in mind that you need to request access to those to the projects that are associated with those collections. So as long as you have access, and you should be able to use all the CMIP data collections, ERA5, the ACCESS-NRI replica collection for observational datasets, and without changing anything. So the configuration, it's already pre-configured, but you may want to change some of these yourself. So the way ESMValTool works is it looks for a config user file in your home directory. It is usually located in .esmvaltool folder, and it's called config user.yml. So I already have one. If it's the first time you're running the tool, you probably won't have one, which means that the tool will use the default one that it has, that is in the Singularity container. So you can get the config user file by running the ESMValTool config get config user command. So if I run that command, because I already have one in my home directory, this is going to fail. So actually I can just show you. So I should get an error message saying that the copy has been aborted because I already have a config user file there. So just to make sure that you don't overwrite your configuration. So a good way, what I can do is I can use a path argument and ask ESMValTool to provide me with a copy of the default config file. Here we go. So if I do this, I'll see that now I've got the config user.yml file. I can look at it and I can modify it and copy it in my .esmvaltool folder. So I'm not going to go through the different options here. Just like to mention that things like search ESGF, which allows ESMValTool to look for missing datasets, require access to the internet. So if you are on a queue that doesn't provide access to the internet, like the normal queue for example, the code will fail. So you will have to set it to never here. Keeping in mind that some recipes do require access, and they may fail with an error message saying that they don't have access to the network. So some consideration to take into account when you run recipes. All right. Okay. So and you can copy that file, as I said, in your .esmvaltool folder in your home directory. So I'm not going to do it now because it's going to overwrite things, but you get the idea. All right. Okay, and so I will do a video around like in details about the configuration, what the different options are, and how we configured it to work on Getty. But the main message here is like it should work out of the box for you. And if it doesn't, don't hesitate to request help on the ACCESS-NRI forum. All right. So next group of commands that you can use is the ESMVal group, ESMValTool recipes group. So we can list all the ESMValTool recipes that are available on Getty. So here they are. So it's a bit difficult to know what they are, what they correspond. I mean, so what I usually do is I go on the ESMValTool documentation website, and I can just browse if I look at the documentation, for example, you can browse the gallery and just pick something that you're interested in. Like so, for example, today what we're going to do is we're going to run the recipe that produced val output, which is the air temperature field, the global air temperature field. So if I look at this, I can tell that it's one of the example recipes, and there's a bit of documentation around what it does, and basically it's telling you that you can run it using recipe python.yml recipe. So going back to our terminal, here we go. What we can do is we can have a look at a recipe I just mentioned. So I can pass recipes show any path. So let's take this one, and that command here should give us a view of the content of that recipe file. Again, this is a quick start guide, so I'm not going to go through the detail of how you write a recipe and what the different sections are, but you may want to just have a quick look just to understand which datasets, for example, are called. And here we go. So this is just a view. If you want to change it, what you do is you can retrieve the recipe. Basically getting a local copy in your folder. Here we go. So now I can look at the recipe itself using my text editor, and as I said, if I want, I can change the dataset, for example, and use some ACCESS ESM outputs, or in that case that recipe is producing time series for the city of Amsterdam. We could change that to anything, make it more relevant to us here in Australia. Here we go. Last but not least is how do we run the recipe itself. So to do that, we call ESMValTool run. We can either pass the full path of the recipe in the container, well, the recipe that ships with ESMValTool, or we can, in this case, just pass the name of the file, the local file that is in our directory here. So the way ESMValTool works, it always first look for the file in your local directory, and if it can't find it, it will look at the collection. But in our case, we're just going to run the local file here. Here we go. And so because it runs in a container, you don't get much information during the run. You will get a dump of a log at the end. So hopefully this should work and shouldn't take too long. Here we go. A bit more. And here we go. So you get a dump of log, and so I realize here it's not that easy to read, but just some information. I mean, the key thing is the last line that just says that the run was successful. So good news. Again, won't take you through all the details. We can have a look at that in another video. But the key thing is the run was successful. So if it was successful for you as well, you should get the output in the ESMValTool output folder. You'll see that there is a folder called recipe Python with a timestamp of today's date and time, and that basically contains all the output of the recipe. So you may have some netcdf file that were like that from the result of some pre-processing, some plots, etc. There's an index.html file because ESMValTool provides like a way to browse the output using a browser. And the easiest way, so it's like there are several ways to do that, but the easiest way is probably just to compress that folder and download it into on your local machine. So I'm just going to open another terminal, and I'm going to retrieve it. So I'm using Linux, so the commands to retrieve a file might be a bit different on your system. I've got an alias to do that. So I'm just going to do quick command. Here we go, and I can just enter the file, and then you can open it with your browser. So on my system, I can simply run open index.html, and so I get the output of the recipe that we've just run with the plots I mentioned. So I've got plots for 2 datasets because there was we had like 2 datasets listed in the recipe. And that's pretty much it. So don't hesitate if you have any questions. Please write a post on the ACCESS-NRI forum, and we'll be happy to help. Thank you very much.